Hello everybody, Dave Neal here, stand-up comic, host of Bachelor Recap, a Guy's Review. Today we're talking about Katie Thurston, the upcoming season of Bachelorette that she is filming right now in New Mexico, and the age range of the men on the show. They range in age from 25 years old to 36 years old. What's the difference? Does age matter? That's the new question we're asking in 2021. Does age matter in 2021? Does it matter for the type of trajectory you're on in your life? And how has that changed? How has the pandemic changed working from home and not needing to live in certain city centers? And we'll discuss all of it. But as we know, age is but a number, although it is easy to apply statistics to ages. It's easy to rack up the numbers and look at them, and who better to do that than Bachelor Data. Bachelor Data is an amazing Instagram. Let me pull it up right here. Amazing Instagram. Go give them a follow. 55,000 followers right there. They deserve so much more. They pull together these amazing stats because, you know, Katie will be the 17th season of The Bachelorette. There are a lot of stats about the success of certain age brackets and things like that. We've had everything from Bachelorette contestants in their early 20s to late 30s, which is a pretty big age range for an adult to go from an early 20s to a late 30s. Katie's got Bachelorette contestants ranging from 25 to 36. Let's read what Bachelor Data has to say, and then we'll analyze these numbers. Bachelor Data says, today we're diving into our biggest age analysis yet. We're taking the last 9 Bachelorettes men in their age breakdown. We've thrown in the U.S. Census median age of first marriage, men by year of filming. As a reference point, the median age of first marriage in the U.S. has been increasing over the last few decades. So, you know, there's a question as to why it's been increasing. It's hard to, you know, there's a lot of environmental factors, one of which being the fact that marriage can be an expensive thing, because after marriage comes kids, or kids and then marriage. But either way, they're sort of intertwined to a point, and people are having kids at a later age. They're getting married at a later age. They're living more in cities, which if you live in a city, you have a lower chance of being married at a younger age than if you lived in a cul-de-sac somewhere. Different lifestyles, different choices. So Katie, 30 and a half years old, is that right? 30 years old. Yeah, Katie, she was born in 1991, January 3rd. How old do you guys feel that a mature bachelorette in her 30s was born in the early 1990s? That makes my knees hurt just hearing that. 1990s, that must be nice. I eat a slice of pizza and I can't even put a ring on my finger because I get so bloated. Anyone else there? Water retention? Did water retention not happen in my 20s, or am I just getting old and painful here that I'm thinking about it? All right, we don't know. So anyway, Katie's 30. But there's men that are 5 years younger at the age of 25, and there's men that are 6 years older at the age of 36. And as we know, as Katie's filming Bachelorette, which will air June 1st, 2021, just 9 weeks away, less than 9 weeks away. Can you believe that? That'll be the day after Memorial Day weekend. Can you believe how fast time flies when you're living in a global pandemic? Hey, folks, stay safe out there, socially distant. Hit your like button on this video. Please bump the Harrison on top of that like button. It helps out the YouTube channel. Thank you so much for subscribing, and we continue. So you look at these numbers, and it makes you wonder, is it feasible that Katie ends up with a 25-year-old guy versus a 36-year-old guy? Is there a skew that younger women end up with older men? I know that's kind of like a trope, but that's, you know, there were evolutionary reasons to why this happened. So I will read this. And again, this is just, you read a few articles, you know, numbers are meant, just like rules are meant to be broken, stats are meant to be broken. This doesn't take into account today's world, where we are, the goals you have with your partner. So of course a woman can end up with a younger guy, and a guy can end up with a younger woman or an older. Of course that can happen. But let's look into the evolutionary reason as to why men have traditionally ended up with younger women. Many of the reasons proposed for age gap couples have been largely rooted in evolutionary explanations and focus on explaining older man, younger woman pairings. From this perspective, it's thought men's preferences for younger women and women's preferences for older men relate to reproductive fitness. That is the extent to which someone has good genes, indicated by their attractiveness and sense of energy, also known as vitality. in the extent to which they are a good investment, indicated by their status and resources, as well as their warmth and sense of trust. Now, again, I know to some people this might just sound disgusting to talk about, but like there's a lot of evolutionary things that we do in our world that we might not be privy to. But if I'm attracted to someone who's got a sense of security, financially speaking, then that's okay. And if someone's attracted to someone based on their vitality, like, can they rear me a bunch of offspring so we can procreate the species? That's in your evolutionary kind of mindset too. And it differs to a degree with men and women. Not to say there isn't plenty of overlap. We're not saying one thinks this way and one thinks that way. Just statistically speaking, there is some overlap. So some room for critical thinking here. Don't blast me for reading this. I'm already defensive. Although men and women place importance on a partner who is warm and trustworthy, women place more importance on the status and resources of their male partner. Now, if you just were to say this flippantly, like, men like rich guys, like, let's not be so low IQ to boil it down to something that simple. But women have to worry in a way that men don't with regards to raising that child. Now, of course, in an ideal situation, men and women will raise the child together, or even if they're separated, they will still be co-parenting. But, the truth is that the burden lies on the women, unfortunately. So they need to pick a guy as best to their abilities that is going to provide a stable income. That is going to, you know what I mean? Like I was laughing at Tasha. I was like, how did you, a beautiful woman like you, end up with a YouTuber? Like, what's up with that? You know what I mean? But I always tell her, I was like, you're glad I'm not a banker, because how boring would I be? No offense, Katie Thurston was a bank manager, but how boring would I be if I worked at a bank on a 9 to 5 and I only got 2 weeks vacation, this and that? Oh, I would have health care though. Tell you what. This is largely, let me read that again. Although men and women place importance on a partner who is warm and trustworthy, women place more importance on the status and resources of their male partner. This is largely because, with women being the childbearers, the investment is very high on their behalf. Time and effort in childbearing and rearing. So they are attuned to looking for a partner who will also invest resources into a relationship and family. You want a good investment. That's what it is. But like I said, in today's world, especially someone like Katie, she's going to be set with regards to whatever she decides to do in life. I think she'll be set. She's smart. She's funny. She's got resources, a gigantic platform. She'll be set. So with that said, do you then not look for a guy who has that financial stability? You look at Claire Crowley. She wanted a guy who, and ended up with Dale Moss, who's a lot younger than her, and maybe she didn't need the necessary, the guy who had the pension plan, because she was taken care of there. So when you feel taken care of, maybe you start to look for different attributes in somebody. I'm just thinking out loud. But because the building of resources takes time, we tend to acquire resources later in life, and so are older by the time we have acquired enough wealth and resources to comfortably provide for others. So women's attunement to status and resources might explain why some women may be attracted to older men. And now I'll push back on this. As a guy, doing a guy's review here, as a guy, it might not always be that the women are looking for an older man, but it might be the guy knowing he's going to take more time to kind of get his stature where he wants to be, his place in society, his place in the hierarchy. He might not even be looking for love until he's attained a certain amount of wealth and, position, as it were. So, it's not just what the woman's looking for, it's what the man feels like he's ready for, and vice versa. In contrast, there's evidence to suggest men value attractiveness and vitality more than women, because from an evolutionary standpoint, youth is seen as an indicator of fertility, which, of course, I'm glad they added vitality, because it's not just about attractiveness, but, and again, in today's world, being it that we're not in a population, we don't have a demand for, there's enough people out there. Go look at the highways, right? It makes you wonder, do you start getting attracted less to vitality because you're not looking to procreate? In that case, I'm not sure. Given men cannot bear children, evolution suggests they're attuned to younger women to enhance the chances of partnering with someone who can provide children. Again, I haven't even read this yet. It just looked like a good article, so I already feel like I'm kind of going to get pushback from ladies here, because it would sound horrible to just say, oh, men only want young ladies. No, my fiance is relatively, she's a couple years younger than me, but there isn't some like age gap where it's like, old guy trying to, get after something, whatever. But the evolutionary explanation is limited in that it doesn't explain why the reverse occurs in older women, younger man pairing, or why age gaps exist within same-sex couples. For this, sociocultural explanations might provide insights. Again, so this explains what I'm saying. Like, look, there are numbers that work out certain ways, but there are sociocultural explanations with regards to the economy, where you live, what kind of priorities you're looking for. And again, within the Bachelorette franchise, it makes you wonder in the Bachelorette franchise, if someone's so independent and as Katie Thurston is, if she doesn't need a guy who will provide for her in a financial way, that sort of security, what sort of security will she look for? Now, the question also is not whether or not Katie would be okay marrying a 25-year-old. The question is a 25-year-old ready for marriage? Especially, and this is why The Bachelor only has had 1 out of 25 seasons where the Bachelor ended up with their final choice, their F1. And that is a 4% success rate. You could pair up a couple random people in an airport terminal and they'll have a higher chance of finding love than Bachelor. I mean, for a show that prides itself on finding love, their success rate is abysmal. Now, Bachelorette, a little bit better. I don't know the stats. Leave a comment if you know the stats on success rate for Bachelorette. A little bit better, but it makes you wonder, are women better at choosing a partner than men? Do men kind of lead with their lust rather than what's good for them? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But boy, have men proven that given the options, we're not good at choosing. Not good at choosing. Now, it also makes you wonder, with fame, which the show provides, is it harder? Are men less focused on the final? Like say Katie ends up with a 25-year-old, but now he's famous. The Dale Moss kind of vibe. Is he gonna be more thirsty for that fame because he's in his 20s and he's more kind of consumed by ego than a guy like 36? Take Zach Clark, right? He's 30. What was he? 35, 36. He's an addiction specialist. He's hit rock bottom. He's seen life. So while he is like a really good sort of totem pole, just sturdy man, to Tayshia's kind of like free going, they're fun loving together, but you don't see the ego with Zach Clark the way you might with like a 25-year-old influencer type F-boy, as it were. So if you look at other seasons here, we've got Tayshia's season. So she ends up with Zach Clark, who's 36, and she was, I believe, 30. But Tayshia kind of got the remnants of Claire's season. So there was a couple older men on Tayshia's season. Like if you go all the way to Claire, right, you had 40, 39, 38, 5 36-year-olds. That's a good number. A lot of guys in their 30s. She had a lot of, older, men to choose from that kind of had careers set. And then you get your average, couple guys in their mid-20s. If we keep on going farther back here, this is Hannah Brown's season. Of course, she was a lot younger. So Hannah Brown's season, she was 24. What are they doing casting a 24-year-old? No offense. She chooses Jed. He's 25. They didn't even make it out of the gate. You know what I mean? So like the older you go, Becca Kufrin, is that her name? Kufrin? She was 28. She chose Garrett, 29. Boy, we have not had much success in these two relationships. Let's check up on Colton and Cassie. How about we don't? Leap the fence. Donate to his charity. All right, track that story. We will, under the trunk. So Becca, 28, she chooses a guy who's older. Obviously, it's still, I mean, even any guy in your 20s, again, it differs from person to person, but most guys in your 20s, like I settled down with Tasha when I was in my late 20s. I'm 35 now. And it's taken me my whole 20s into my 30s to kind of figure out what I'm doing with my life. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but God knows I wouldn't have wanted my current relationship to be dragged along through part of that process. It's almost like you need to figure out who you are, what you stand for, what sort of world you want to be a part of, and then find somebody, and then you want to grow up parallel to each other. You don't want one person overshadowing the other. So with a relationship, with a strong lead like The Bachelorette, you want a guy who is okay not always being the center of attention. You want a guy like Caitlin Bristow found in Jason Tartrick. Did I pronounce their names right? Where she found a guy who's like able to like put on hold what he's doing so she can go on Dancing with the Stars. It doesn't mean his world doesn't exist. It means we live in a society where the exchange of power isn't always the man works and the woman stays at home. That always creates some sort of toxicity because your communication has to be that much better. Because if the man's working and the woman's staying at home, she's sort of an indentured servant to his paycheck when you think about it. So there's nothing better in the world, in the progress we're moving to, than to having financial independence before meeting your partner. It doesn't mean that that's the only way to go. You can have a lot of trust in your partner, but it's good to have your financial independence so you're not necessarily controlled by each other's, that could breed toxicity is my point. So here's Rachel's season, Rachel Lindsay. So she was 32 and she ended up with a 37-year-old. That's a pretty good age difference. They're both in their 30s. When they figured it out. These guys that were 26, they didn't stand a chance. They didn't stand a chance with Rachel Lindsay. She's a smart lawyer. She's like, she's not trying to, find out what the latest TikTok trends are. Maybe she is. What do I know? And then we go way back to JoJo. She was only 25. And, of course, Jordan's 27. I'm actually surprised. But then again, she was a 25-year-old from Texas. There is some statistics that people from the South might, in certain rural upbringings, they might get married at a younger age. Same thing with religion. If you're religious, you might get married at a younger age. Certainly knows. I'm just playing around here, but whenever someone gets married when they're like 20, I'm like, oh, you must have been waiting for marriage because you were like, I'm 20. I'm getting married because I'm ready to do that. Bump that Harrison. Just in jest, folks. Do whatever you want to do with your life. Caitlin Bristow, obviously she was 29, and Sean, what was his name? Sean, whatever his last name was. Sean with a W. He was also 29. Their issue was obviously less about age, although I will say he was very focused on getting his gym off the ground, and so you could say that he wasn't financially where he wanted to be for the relationship to work. And again, the idea is that love will withstand different issues. Not always the case. Not always the case, because we're all flawed individuals and we're all kind of trying to figure out where we stand in society. So Sean's own insecurity might have been tough where he couldn't provide what Caitlin needed, whereas Jason Tartrick's like, hey, look, I'm not trying to start up a gym. I'll do what you want to do. I'll come along for the ride. I'll be your support. And then maybe a time will come where he needs Caitlin to be his support, and she'll have known that he was there for her and she'll be there for them, and they built some trust. Who knows, folks? Here we go. Andy, we're getting old. She was 27. Okay, that's the end of that. So much has changed since then in the last 7 years. So much has changed. But anyway, let me know what you guys think about this. And then my final thought was, I was going through Zodiac Signs here for Katie Thurston, like I said, born January 3rd. So she was born January 3rd. So it says, let's see what it says here. She'd be voted most likely to be president of the U.S., and you're known for your practicality, your ambitions, and your work hard, play later approach to life. Work hard, play later. Interesting. Everyone needs balance in their life, and these three Zodiac signs most likely to be Capricorn soulmates can help you find that. All right, so this article actually shares what types of Zodiac signs would be good for her. Taurus's no-nonsense approach to life and Virgo's practicality will appeal to Capricorns. All right, I guess I need to find which contestants, once they have an official list. I don't think they have an official list yet. Once they have an official list of Katie's season, I will look into what their birth dates are and see, astrologically speaking, who her best matches would be. I don't necessarily believe in astrology, but I'm not like a hater in it. You know what I mean? What a Taurus. I know, right? So anyway, be a Sagittarius. Hit the like button. What does that mean? I don't know. If you want to be a Cancer, go over there and leave a comment. Do whatever you need to do on the charts just to help a brother out. What's interesting is we're talking about warmth and trustworthiness in a relationship, and I actually just made a new podcast episode. This is a private only video, but if you want to join my Patreon community, it's patreon.com/thesap. That's my podcast. It's called The Sap. It's short for Sex Actually Podcast. We talk a lot about relationships, dating, communication, and also motivation. So today's a solo episode. It's something like 48 minutes long, and I talk about warmth and competence and how to be the most likable person in the room. Not an article I wrote, but it's interesting to look at how you can use warmth and competence to be trustworthy, not just to a potential partner, but to a coworker, to random people. And I actually use Nick Viall as an example of someone who, with his introvertedness, might not be as warm to strangers even if he has competence, and what that means emotionally speaking if you don't have warmth and competence. Does that make sense? If it doesn't, or if this is interesting, a human dynamic stuff to talk about, go over to my Patreon and check that out. It's a private membership community. It's a couple bucks a month. Not a big deal, but it's there if you want it. And if you want the audio-only version, that's always for free. You can go to the SAP on anywhere you listen to podcasts, and you can watch or listen to that latest episode. And of course, final thing I'm promoting, my new vlogs drop Thursday. I've got a new vlog channel. Thank you so much for the 239 people that have subscribed. I appreciate you guys so much. Haven't released any videos yet, and you guys are already over there jumping on board. So I appreciate all of you. And yeah, let me know. Let me know what you think is going to work out for Katie, if age matters, if you think it'll play any sort of factor, or what age range she will find. Again, that starts June 1st. Hit the subscribe button. Stay in touch. We'll have plenty of content in the meantime. We'll see you guys later. Bye now, and thank you for your feedback.